Hello, friend. Welcome to another PSA for Black men with prostate cancer. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the radiation that I have coming up for the spot on my hip that was found during the PSMA. But I want to kind of give you an update as to what's been going on with me since my last video before I do that. As you know, in my last video, I talked about having an allergic reaction to certain antibiotics. Cafalex and Rocephin were the ones that really caused me problems that they almost killed me. But the infection has been taken care of, so to speak. As you know, I had a midline installed in my arm so that I could 24 hours get pumped with the correct antibiotic. And yes, it's gone. The midline is gone. 21 days of that. And that carrying that fanny pack around everywhere, sleeping with it, going to the bathroom with it. Everywhere I went, that fanny pack was with me. Oh, and by the way, you remember the drain? Because of the fluid that was in my body that had to be expelled, that bag was hanging on my side as well, clipped to my underwear, while the drain was literally in my abdomen. That was more like 45 or more days carrying that around. So I'm having all these bags and these tubes going inside of my body. That's gone too. Yes, I can't believe it either. I mean, I got so used to carrying these things around that even when I get out of bed, I'm looking for this bag to take with me so that I don't drag it or pull on the tubes that are in my body, and they're gone. So it's a really good feeling not to have those. But I got to tell you, it did not come just without a little bit of consternation, obviously. There was a period of time where probably a week or 2 weeks before the drain was removed, where the infectious disease doctor that I was seeing that literally was giving me the antibiotics took a look at the fluid in the bag and thought that it wasn't lymphocell type fluid. He thought that he thought it was more like urine. Now, how do you get urine out of this drain? The only way that happens is if I have a busted bladder or a urethra, a ureta. I think that's the name of it. It's the tube that goes from your kidney to your bladder, ureta. And if that's broken, or if it's got a leak, then that would explain urine in the fluid as well. So there was a lot of going back and forth between my surgeon, the infectious disease doctor, and ultimately it was decided, and I'm still a little bit not sure, but it was decided that it wasn't urine, which is, I guess, good news. But with all of that said, and all of the pain going through all of that, and you know from listening to these other videos that I've had support in my life. I've had a very, very strong, beautiful, loving person in my life that's been helping me through this. In fact, I don't think I would be here today if it weren't for her. I mean, that's putting it pretty strongly, but I think it's putting it very realistically. She has been there every single step of the way for me. And so, brothers, if you have someone in your life that is supporting you, cherish that. If you don't, try to get that. It is absolutely needed because you don't know what you're going to face. I thought the prostatectomy would just be, I'll get the surgery and I'll move on. But there's so many, as you know, so many issues. The infection, the lymphocell seroma, the lymphangiogram procedure that I had to close off lymph nodes that were leaking, the antibiotics and the reaction to that, the reaction that almost killed me, the the midline that had to be placed in there, the CAT scans, multiple CAT scans to see what's going on, the blood clots. The list is long. In the last 2 months, including carrying these bags around for 21 days for one and 45 days for the other. So it has been a rough road, to say nothing of the multiple times I've been in the ER, because one of those things that was happening had driven me to the ER either in the middle of the day or in the middle of the night. I remember early on when I had the catheter right after the surgery, maybe a week after the surgery, there was no urine being created in the bag from the catheter. And I was feeling a ton of pain in my feet, and my temperature was up. And my beautiful loved one, my beautiful, beautiful life partner, she, at 1 o'clock in the morning, dead tired from taking care of me day after day after day after day. 1 o'clock in the morning, we get in the car. We're on the road 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. We get to UCLA in Los Angeles, because that's how far we had to drive, 2.5 hours. We get to Los Angeles, and I'm in a hospital bed, just having every test you can think of. And my surgeon's being basically woken up at night to come in as well to see what's going on with me. She's right there. She's right there, dead tired, sleep. She's been driving the whole way, and she's right in the hospital bed. And I might be laying there, and I was there like passing out every now and then, getting a little sleep. She got no sleep. Having someone by your side like that is paramount. I'm taking a little time to go over this because there was something that happened right after I got all of this stuff removed, right? The bags are removed, the midline's removed. I'm starting to feel a little better. This was last week. I got all this removed last Thursday. Today is Sunday, not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before. And went to work in LA on Friday, was healthy enough to drive to LA. The other thing I didn't mention to you that I've been struggling with was edema in my right leg. So that's another issue. The list is long, but through all of that, I've come out the other side feeling a lot better, okay? So that's the good news. Until last Saturday. Last Saturday, when the midline was finally taken out of my arm, we were headed to a late breakfast or somewhere, and she wasn't feeling very well. And it turned out she had a really high fever that night. And Sunday morning we checked it again, and it was getting worse. It was getting up to close to 102. So of course, where did we go? We go back to the emergency room. Not for me this time, but for someone who's been there every step of the way for me. Oh my goodness. And I will tell you, because you can't park right away, and I had to literally drop her off at the front door of the ER, go park the car, and come back in. Dropping her off and watching her in literally her nightgown, stumbling into the ER, it tore me up. It tore me up to watch that. I couldn't hold it. I just lost it. I lost it emotionally, because to know that this person, this angel, has been seeing me through this entire time and giving up her personal life. She has a personal life. She's giving up everything to ensure my health and safety. I tell you, I wouldn't be here now if it wasn't for her. To watch her walk through those emergency room doors, sick as ever, it just didn't seem fair. I mean, I literally cried out to God, why? This is not fair. She does not deserve that. All right, I don't want to get emotional about it here, because it really tore me up to see that. So if you have someone taking care of you, make sure they're taking care of themselves also. We've talked about it. She and I have talked about she's got to take care of herself. And this was a result of something that none of us could see coming. Turns out she tested positive for COVID. Are you kidding me? And I tested negative with the home test that same day. And the next day I tested negative. But I was feeling some of the symptoms, the fever, the coughing, the sore throat, all of those things that come with it, the body chills, the aching muscles. I was feeling all that. So what do? On that following Sunday or Monday morning, I checked myself in, back to the ER. This is like a second home to me. In my car, I have an iPhone, and what happens is when I start my car, it literally tells you where your home is, and it tells you how far you are from home, and it gives you directions to your home, no matter where you are. As soon as I start my car, it knows that my home is a certain place, and it dials it in. For a while there, I was turning on my car while I was at home, and it was dialing in the hospital address. It was automatically taking me to the hospital. I spent so much time there in these last 2 months that my iPhone thinks it's my new home. It's a little bit funny, but not so funny. I've learned so much about my own health, medicine, my own body, all of these things. But this was a tough way to learn. To have her go through that really just broke me up. And then to find out that I had COVID. I had COVID. I shouldn't say had. I have COVID. Now I'm at what I think is nearing the end, because I had to take a antiviral medicine. It's called Lagevrio. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Lagevrio. That's it. Lagevrio. I can see the spelling, and I'm trying to enunciate it phonetically. Lagevrio. That is the antiviral that I'm taking. The one that they typically give you is called Paxlovid. And Paxlovid is the one that seems to work really well. But it has an interaction with some of the medications I'm taking. I've got blood clots, so I'm taking blood thinners. And so I cannot take Paxlovid because it also thins your blood, and there's a high risk of runaway bleeding, if you will. So I've talked to my pulmonary doctor about how do I get through this while I'm in this state of having COVID. The symptoms are high. I'm on the phone with the pulmonary specialist, and they're telling me, well, I could cut the dose down of my existing blood thinner and take this antiviral, and then after 3 days after I finish the antiviral, increase my dose of blood thinner again. But I also talked to my primary care doctor, who had this Lagevrio option. And so I opted for the Lagevrio option. And so I just today have taken the last dose of the antiviral called Lagevrio. And I feel a lot better. I do feel a lot better. My temperature, I haven't taken my temperature in a couple of days because I haven't felt like I'm overheated. I just feel fine. I have a terrible cough that at night keeps me up most of the nights. Last night was the first full night. I wouldn't even call it a full night. The first night I was able to lay down because of the cough. And it's still there. It's the tickle in the throat. It's the phlegm that comes with it. Anyway, that is where I'm at right now. I think I'm over it. I'm going to test again later today, possibly tomorrow, just to make sure that the COVID virus is not detectable. But I still have to isolate for several more days because I'm not contagious, but they say you should isolate for 10 plus days, maybe 2 weeks. So I'm going to just ride that out at home, and I've been isolated. So that's been the latest. After I was tested positive for COVID, I wanted to throw my hands up because there wasn't one day I did not get peace for one day of what I would call normal living without all the tubes and everything and antibiotics and all the blood thinners and everything else I'm doing, and suddenly boom, there's COVID. Well, I guess I'm pretty blessed and thankful and grateful that it's 2023. Now, I didn't get COVID when it was 2020, when no one knew what the heck was going on, or even 2021 when people were still dying of this and being hospitalized, or 2022, there's still people, to this day, people are being hospitalized. And so I did not have to be hospitalized. They took respiratory tests for RSV, they did chest x-rays for pneumonia. At one point this past week, it was believed that I might have pneumonia, but it doesn't appear to be that way right now. So I'm thankful and praying that I get through this completely in a very short order. Okay, I told you I was going to tell you about the next steps of prostate cancer movement, but I wanted to give you an update on my personal health, because it all for me, it all fits together, and heck, why not? If I'm documenting all this stuff, I probably need to capture all this stuff. I do have radiation that needs to take place for a spot that was identified on my hip. And I was scheduled for that this past Thursday. And because of COVID, obviously, I had to call and reschedule. So I'm now scheduled out later this month, August, to go in for what they call a mapping. Now, I'm not quite sure what mapping is. I have an idea that they're going to take a look at all of the images and all of the data associated with my case and discuss with me what needs to happen, including the number of sessions, the radiation sessions I have to go through. Now, when I initially talked to the head of radiology at UCLA, he said there was likely only 3 sessions I would need because the spot was so small. So I'm hoping that's still the case, or maybe even better. So that's what's up for me next. Hopefully, that's a few weeks away. So the way things have been going, any number of things can happen between now and then. But here's the great news. The great news is that my beautiful sweetheart she was able to take Paxlovid, and she finished her Paxlovid 2 days ago, because she's kind of 2 days ahead of me before I realized I had it. And she tested yesterday at home and came out negative. Yay! I was so happy, so overjoyed that she is COVID negative right now. But she should still obviously go through the isolation and the wearing of the masks and all of those things, and for the next several days. I'm hoping that I test negative as well later today or tomorrow, and that being the case, then it's just steady as we go. The people that I work for with this contract that I have, they've been absolutely wonderful. And Friday, the day before yesterday, normally I would have driven into Los Angeles to do this work. They allowed me to do it virtually. And so I'm so thankful that I was able to do that, and felt good enough to do that. I had a little coughing spell online in the middle of some of that work, but it turned out really well. And so my hope is that over the next few days, I get back to a place where I don't have to isolate anymore, and I can go back in next Friday for another engagement with this client. All right, so lots of information. This is probably one of the longest videos, but I really wanted to give homage, if you will, and honor to my sweetheart who has absolutely been an angel through this. And the fact that she was sick when I was getting better, she began to get sick. The roles reversed very quickly. I'm driving her to the ER. I'm taking care of her at night. I'm doing what I can do to make sure she's comfortable. And so I was more than happy to do that, obviously. I got to give anything to make sure she was well. But then to find out that I too had it was, so we were both kind of like, we had to isolate together, and we were both sick. Someone said, "Oh, how romantic." No, it's not romantic when two people are sick together. I'll tell you that. So anyway, long story. Wanted to bring you up to date on what's going on. Also wanted to give you what the next steps are. I'm also scheduled in late August, early September to meet with the men's health doctor to discuss all the men's health stuff, like erectile dysfunction. I will say this, it's been the furthest thing from my mind. I haven't taken any of the medication they've given me for that because I'm on so many other things, and that is not even a priority at this stage. It's going to become one real soon, but I actually feel very, very good when it comes to everything below the waist, if you will. I feel like things are back to some semblance of normality, and they're just going to get better. So anyway, maybe that's TMI for you, but it is something that if you're going through this, you might want to be aware of, that it's not a sentence on your sexuality. You can get through that, and I know that I'm getting through it as well. All right, that's it. Good talking to you as always. Remember, be grateful for everything. Be grateful in all things. In all things, not just for things. Be grateful in the moments of crises also. Be grateful in those moments. Give when you can, because giving is a two-way street. You receive when you give. And above all else, love yourself. Love yourself first. Then you make your choices, and you'll have a wonderful life. All right, we'll talk to you soon on the next episode. Take care.